Yeah. Step in the ring. Gotta play my life on this song. Yeah. Yeah. What is Spotlight Sports? Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Every finisher lands, every storyline arcs. From the ramp to the ropes, from the chance to the sparks. We live for the show. Hitting the marks. Step in the ring, it's a war zone spark. Roman Reigns with the spear, leave a legacy mark. Kenny Omega with the V-trigger, cleaner than art. MJF talk slick, cut promos that scar. Okada with the rainmaker, money flows hard. Seth Rollins curb stomp, burn it down, no guard. John Mox with the paradigm shift, blood in the yard. Jay White with the blade runner, switchblade sharp. Bianca Belair, whip crack, hair snap charge. Will Ospreay with the hidden blade, aerial barrage. Claudio swinging bodies like a carnival park. Darby Allin directless, paint face dogs, all the flair figure eight. Legacy arc, Hangman Page, buckshot, cowboy spark, ricochet flips insane, gravity disbarred, the young bucks, super kick party, double tap start. From AEW to WEROH to NJPW charts, every move, every feud, every pop from the marks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Every finisher lands, every storyline arcs. From the ramp to the ropes, from the chance to the sparks. We live for the show, hitting the marks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Every finisher lands, every storyline arcs. From the ramp to the ropes, from the chance to the sparks. We live for the show, hitting the marks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Spotlight sparks, spotlight sparks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Spotlight sparks, hitting the marks. I mean media.
It is Tuesday, April 7th, 2026. You're tuned into the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast live, powered by the Hameen Media Group, patreon.com/Hameen Media Group, and of course, presented by the HTM Podcast Network. On this week's show, we're talking the Viper and the Punter, NXT Stand and Deliver, Carmelo Hayes, Gunther versus Rollins. Oh yeah, and AEW happens to have a pay-per-view this weekend. But before we dive in, it's my obligation to remind you, this is a podcast by the fans for the fans, bringing you all the news that is news from across the professional wrestling world. Keep up with the show by searching Hitting the Marks on your favorite podcast listening device. My name is Dr. Michael Jargo, PhD, and of course I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend. He's the real RBV. Rick, welcome back to your show.
Today, that R to the B to the V, it stands for EAF. Excited as fill in the blank there, but yes, even going back to last Friday night SmackDown, that opening segment, hit or miss, love it or hate it, I knew what it was going to bring. It was going to open up those floodgates, and I couldn't wait to get back on the airwaves, especially with you, Michael Jargo, sitting here hitting the Marks Professional Wrestling Podcast. What a whirlwind weekend for professional wrestling. Again, kicking off last Friday night. Wrote that right in the last night, Monday night Raw. Punk opening it up hot. And again, for better or worse, love it or like it, it's got people talking. And now 2 weeks out, just under 2 weeks out here, really, from a week from Saturday, WrestleMania. I finally feel like they have dialed it up. They've turned up the heat, and there is some excitement. And I am excited. Up bright and early this morning, April 7th, 9:35 a.m. Make sure I was up, had all my stuff done so I could pull up my chair right here, turn on the big screen, wake up, ESPN, get up, wake up, forget up. The reveal for the WrestleMania card, intriguing to me. We knew the main events. Where were they going to fall? Which night? But the selection for who's going to get the freebies for the first 2 hours, I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like somebody's been listening to us, right? There's been an awful lot of that going on here in the last week. I find it intriguing that you use the words "kick off" when it comes to SmackDown, because Pat McAfee. Yeah, we're going to talk some Pat McAfee. The entire monologue is about Pat McAfee. But we want to start, Huckleberry, we had some sports over the course of this weekend as well. We have new national champions, and they all come from the Big Ten. We have the Big Ten has the NCAA football champions in the Indiana University. We have women's basketball champions at the University of California, Los Angeles. And we have men's basketball champions at the University of Michigan. You'll notice I did not say the Ohio State anywhere. Good job, Big Ten. Good job, Big Ten. I'm proud of you.
Hold on. Give us our flowers. Give us our dues. Now, I wish one of those three that you named off, I wish they belonged to the Ohio State Buckeyes. But let's not act like we haven't been bringing home some hardware because we might have been bringing home the most dangerous hardware. We have six-peated as the national pistol shooting champions at the Ohio State just recently.
That's an NCAA thing? Like, how much NIL money can I get for shooting somebody?
Hey, if you do it right, you probably get a lot right there, okay? Especially with the pistols. And it's funny in there. You say UCLA, and it's still weird to me to hear that as a part of the Big Ten. But like Jarko, let me ask you this. In some weird, ironic way, we look here, Big Ten dominance, and we look at how NIL has changed the landscape of college sports, especially when it comes to men's football, basketball at the forefront. But for the women's sports, their basketball obviously stands out in how much NIL quickly not just can influence, impact, but turn around a program in a band of an eye. But it's kind of ironic and funny in a way that NIL and pay for play has reignited the importance in college sports with academics. Now hear me out.
There's academics in collegiate sports at this point?
It's not necessarily with the athletes.
General accounting, maybe? Economics?
Not with the athletes, but you look at the case here of Indiana, the greatest underdog, rags to riches story that there's ever been, the losingest major football program, turns it all around, wins the national championship, undefeated season, unbelievable story. Hoosiers 2 in the making. But by the way, they have the richest alumni. So academics is now once again important to college sports because not the athletes, but all the other nerds, they're going to get in the big boy jobs, the big pay jobs. They're giving back to their universities. And when you go look at the top NIL programs, the earners, those receiving those donations, they pretty much fall into Big Ten.
I am so incredibly annoyed with NIL. I'm so incredibly annoyed with the transfer portal. Like that could be a whole show in itself at this point. But the epitome of it, I saw this week. Audie Crooks, who is arguably the best women's basketball player that Iowa State has had for decades, has entered the transfer portal. And she has said publicly, unless you're talking at least $500,000 in NIL money, I'm not even interested in talking to your university. Mm-hmm. Way to go, Audie Crooks. Let everybody know your priorities straight out of the gate. I mean, it's not just her. I
mean, we regularly see it, especially at the quarterback position over on the other side of it. I mean, they have completely, I don't want to say decimated. They have buried what collegiate sports was supposed to be, that amateur sport. Now, I will say this. Easter afternoon, sitting down, family over, sitting there enjoying some of the appetizers before dinner, but watching the women's version of it. Now, not a good game at all. UCLA went out there and just handles the Lady Gamecocks of South Carolina.
It was incredible. I mean, I'm not surprised that UCLA won. I'm surprised that UCLA dominated the way that they did.
It'll blow up. But, in that post show, probably as close as you can get to that pure moment, the magic of cutting down the nets. What's a song that they play with it and all that? But I mean, that did kind of feel a real moment for amateur to see those girls go out there and truly appreciate the moment that they were in. Where you flip the coin and go to the men's, it felt much more all business, more like the NBA. And in college football, that's just. It's right there. It's on the level of the NFL. It is professional sports.
I did think when we talk about pro wrestling over the course of the weekend, the feud of the weekend, even with everything going on the road to WrestleMania, might have been Dawn Staley and Geno Smith after the semifinal game of the women's tournament. I mean, that was pro wrestling personified right there. Two legendary coaches just absolutely going at it. I'm still not clear what set Geno off. He clearly said something to Dawn, and Dawn responded to where both coaches had to be literally physically restrained from one another. I don't know what Geno said, but boy, I would like to find out.
But they got on him. He sent out the public apology the next day. They even addressed it there at the championship game. Speaking of UConn, 2 Final Fours for that university. Look at the success. I want to ask you this, because you follow both sides of it closer than most people, the men's and the women's. Is UConn the most successful basketball program as a whole for a school that we've ever seen? I mean, you look at what the women have done, countless championships across the board, natties. UConn men's has been there where it's so much more difficult to remain relevant. I mean, just right now with UConn, they've been to what? 3 of the 4 last Final Fours?
Yeah, I think that's right. I definitely the most dominant of the last 20, 30 years. Because it to me, it doesn't seem like UConn men's basketball really elevated to that level until the late 90s, early 2000s, but they have absolutely staked their claim. And I mean, the women's program that kind of speaks for itself. They're the UCLA of women's college basketball. I mean, there for a while. I think they've got like 16 national championships for the UCLA women.
Yeah, how many undefeated?
Or the UConn women?
How many were undefeated? But you also look at that too. At UConn as a school, they abandoned football, and just focus. We are going to succeed at basketball on both sides of the coin.
And I think you're going to see a lot more universities kind of adapt to that model where they put most of their NIL money into one basket, and we just want to be really good at this one sport, and that one sport will supply NIL for everything. Obviously, schools like Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, that program is going to be football, and you make the most money from football, hands down.
Look at Michigan, win that national championship in basketball, and they're prominent. They're going to be right back in there with football.
All right, let's go ahead. We'll jump into the monologue and shift things to the world of professional wrestling, and then we can talk about punters. Yeah, because that seems like a good segue.
When the crowd noise fades and the spotlight grows, there's a voice in the silence that everybody knows. Settle in, lean close, let the story unfold. This is the monologue where the truth gets told.
So rather than the monologue this week, we should have called this segment something new. We should have called it Wrestling Fans Need Therapy, starring the internet wrestling community who once again have had a collective emotional breakdown because Pat McAfee, brace yourselves, stood next to Randy Orton and kicked Cody Rhodes in the balls. By the way the timeline reacted, you would think that Pat McAfee just walked out, punted Cody's dog, RKO'd Brandy Rhodes, and announced he was going to finish the story at WrestleMania. No, he just appeared, kicked Cody in the balls, and said what we've all been thinking for the last 20 years. And the smarks started combusting like they were powered by Meltzer stars and Monster Energy drink. Let's break down the meltdown because this was a masterpiece of unintentional comedy. First, you had the "he's stealing a spot" crowd. Who's he stealing a spot from? Your favorite mid-carder who's been one good push away for the last 7 years? The guy who cuts promos like he's reading a hostage note? The guy who only gets a pop when he teases a heel turn that he never commits to? And then came the whole, well, he's not a real wrestler brigade. Dude, Pat McAfee has had 4 matches and already has more memorable moments than half of the NXT call-ups who got fed to Dolph Ziggler on their first night. The man jumped off of a War Games cage like he was trying to impress Shawn Michaels enough to get a gold star sticker. And the best part, the absolute creme de la cringe, the fantasy bookers who acted like Pat McAfee standing next to Randy Orton was going to derail Cody Rhodes' entire hero's journey. Well, this just ruins the story. Oh, yeah, totally. Cody's 40-year Shakespearean epic is going to collapse because Pat McAfee breathed too loud on camera. Cody could finish the story at a Chuck E. Cheese ball pit and the crowd would go cry like they just finished watching the series finale of Breaking Bad. And then you had the Reddit smarks writing their dissertations like, this doesn't align with long-term story booking. WWE's long-term booking structure is we'll figure it out on Friday. Pat McAfee showing up is the least chaotic thing that they've done for the last month. So let's talk about all the people saying Pat is overexposed. How is he overexposed? He shows up like twice a quarter. Meanwhile, you all watch the same 12-minute Heat segment every week and you call it cinema. Here's the truth. Wrestling fans don't hate Pat McAfee. They hate that he's charismatic. They hate that he's over. They hate that he's athletic. They hate that he doesn't need to wrestle a 40-minute epic in kick pads in order to get a reaction. He's anti-smart kryptonite. He's the guy that proves personality is greater than work rate. And that drives the IWC absolutely feral. Pat McAfee is the only man alive who can cause a full-scale fan civil war just by standing there and cutting a promo. He's not even a heel. He's just a walking trigger warning for people who think that every match needs a 12-step Okada finishing sequence. So today, we're going to dive into the meltdown. We're going to dive into the overreactions. We're going to dive into the smart tears. We're going to dive into the fantasy booking disasters and why Pat McAfee is the most unintentionally controversial figure in wrestling since someone said, hey, you know what? Roman Reigns isn't really all that bad. Huckleberry, that's the monologue. I feel like I wrote this in your voice this week.
I want to stand up, give you a round of applause, standing ovation, my friend, because you, pun intended, have hit the mark. You might have hit the marks a little too hard. You might have hit the mark.
I'm sorry.
Just like that beautiful kick. Hey, you know what? He brought that punting in. That was the most beautiful kick I have seen in professional wrestling. Not when he kicked Cody Rhodes in the balls, my friend. When he kicked Cody Rhodes right there in that biracial baby maker and sent the IWC
right in the Raheem
into a frenzy. Heads were exploding, sir. Heads were exploding. And it goes to, it should have been this individual. It should have been that. This would have made more sense. What makes more sense? Eyes on the product or a name that's not going to pop any ratings? That's your big momentum. Hey, now they say the call came from up top. Ari Emanuel, he's tight with Mac now. They're trying to push him onto that Hollywood scene. That's great. Great for Pat. That Ari now is handling the dealings with the Pat McAfee show, where Netflix might be a front runner for that. Guess what? You want to start merging those brands together. You want to have him present there. I completely get it. I understand it. You want to talk about some, this could be a complete stretch here, and this is Captain Hindsight, if you will. But hey, going back a couple of weeks ago, NFL Combine, Randy Orton stops by the Pat McAfee show. They have a 30-minute conversation. And didn't think anything of it at the time. But now, looking back, Pat's sitting there talking about, man, he said, I had a lot of fun with WWE, had some great moments, great memories, but it's not really the wrestling that I fell in love with. I think all that's passed me by. And Randy's joking like, no, we're going to get you back in. We're going to get you back in. You want the real link. You want to connect all this together. And I'm going to put out the call there to the Hitting the Marks, listeners, to the HMG, the Hameen Media Group Army. Go to your socials, tag at Randy Orton, tag at Pat McAfee Show, and let them know. I'm not saying he gets on air, but give us a shout out to the man. Get him to WrestleMania backstage with you, because it's just not the Viper and the Punter. We need the Ripper. We need the hustler Rip Rogers involved, because he's the man that both of them praise and can bring this and tie it together.
Yeah, and I thought McAfee's promo, by all accounts, this was a quote-unquote shoot. Now, from what I have heard, there's about 3 or 4 people that WWE actually trusts to go out there without a script and just kind of shoot from the hip. Randy Orton is not one of them, and Cody Rhodes is not one of them. But the 2 best promos that we have gotten on the road to WrestleMania, Pat McAfee and CM Punk, both of those guys are on that list. Paul Heyman is on that list, of course. I mean, there are some guys that they trust to just be able to go out there, feel the crowd, and kind of go with it. I thought McAfee was fantastic. The delivery I wasn't necessarily big on. I thought that there were different parts of the promo where he kind of wandered a little bit, and then he had to bring it back because he was basically blown the fuck up. I mean, that's pretty much what happened there.
Multitude of things there. One, I have a strong feeling that in getting himself hyped for this, he went and watched a lot of NWO and DX. You could feel channeling some Scott Hall in there. He's trying to keep that bad guy, kind of cool guy look. He kept finagling with those glasses. He should have just ripped those
he
things
looked
off.
ridiculous. He looked ridiculous. Like, dude, pull down your pants. You don't need your pants pulled all the way up to your nipples, along with the giant belt buckle
That's
and the Randy
classic
Orton
wrestling.
t-shirt.
That's classic wrestling. You pull your trunks up to your nipples.
I thought he looked awful. Like just like the physical presentation of Pat McAfee, I thought looked awful. And I thought the content of the promo was really, really good. And I thought Cody's response was really, really good. Finally, after us saying for weeks, we need to hear from Cody, we finally got to hear from Cody, but it was Cody responding to Pat McAfee rather than Cody responding to everything that's been happening with Randy Orton over the course of the last couple of weeks.
Real quick to the Pat McAfee thing before I talk about Cody. The message itself. Now, if you hate the messenger, that's one thing. But the message itself, we talk regularly in professional wrestling about tribalism, but that usually involves companies. This to me was, and I'm not against tribalism. It's embraced everywhere else in sports. Well, I don't understand why it's such a bad thing in professional wrestling. Here in the great state of the OHIO, no one's going to tell me, you should just like Michigan because you should just love sports. No, that's not happening. So they embrace tribalism. That's how they move merchandise. That's how they move television ratings, how they produce money. So it works everywhere else. But in wrestling, somehow in our little neck of the woods, we pretend it's a bad thing. But if you want that tribalism in this promo from Pat Mac, it's a tribalism, a divide of eras. Last week, we had a lot of fun talking about the potential of Jelly Roll being an enforcer in this match. And we look back at some of the other great enforcers and say, hey, we had guys like Ken Shamrock and Mike Tyson. Today has Jelly Roll. We're not the same. So that what Pat's message was guys like us that came from the Attitude Era, where our wrestling was more raw and real and gritty, as opposed to what we get today. What did he say in there? The 5'5", Iron Man guys that are going out there. We don't want them. We want the blueprints, the creator wrestlers, Randy Orton. That's what we want. And that spoke to somebody like me. And it got me fired up.
We got Jimmy T in the house. So you mean to tell me that you think Randy Orton is more of a professional wrestler, like physically, than I Show Speed? Because I Show Speed is over, bro.
Hey, he did. Hey, he went way over LA Knight. I'm gonna give him his props. I'm giving his props. I'm giving him his props on them hops to Mr. Speed there. That popped me there. But to Cody's promo. Now, see, I thought Cody felt like he was trying a little too hard to fire back at the opening promo. Now, what really jumps out to me, though, as being that old school fan, is the name drop. When he's talking about it, Hall and Dash came out, instead of they had Hogan, they had Disco Inferno. And that sends the IWC into hot conversation. And a lot of people out there saying, oh, man, he's taking shots at Disco. No, the rib is the rub. How many other 1990 mid-card WCW acts are getting mentioned today on today's product, let alone getting shout-outs from the top dog to Universal Champion, somebody like Cody Rhodes?
In modern context, when you talk about retired professional wrestlers that are still kind of in the business, in the media landscape, Disco Inferno might be more over now than he was when he was in his prime on Nitro.
I think I feel like
the brilliance of Disco Inferno has really erased any bad thoughts, any jobber status that people used to think of when it came to Glenn. I feel like Disco at this point is one of the more respected creative minds inside of the podcast professional wrestling landscape. What Keeping It 100 has done for Disco is far and beyond anything that could possibly be said. And I don't think Disco gets that rub, and Disco can't give that rub if it's not for Keeping It 100.
Yeah, I think, he's earned much more of that respect by showing that knowledge. Those that really know how to listen and hear what he's saying over the entertainment side of it. And it comes at a tremendous time there for Keeping It 100. Everything with Conan and his illness there. Those guys put in some incredible work. Feedy leading the ship over there, and letting the pros do what they do. And it's great for them to kind of get this recognition. Ben brought it up when they in the locker room, though. If Disco should have leaned into this a little bit more, because out in Vegas, he's at Sapphires, where they got 400 beautiful women putting on those shows every night. Disco should have been firing back, inviting, hey, Cody, why don't you bring your $9,000 bus ride by Sapphires, and then we'll really entertain those people on that bus.
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy T. Now I have the Disco Inferno theme song stuck in my head. I will say this about Disco, and I have said this about Disco basically as long as we've been podcasting. Best working punch in the history of the business. I mean, like, hard forced to find somebody better than Disco Inferno when it comes to throwing a working man's punch. I mean, that guy, he has one of the better looking punches in the history of the business, as far as I'm concerned.
Now, I know we've talked about the punter. We've talked about the champ. Now we have another piece to this shooter's puzzle, if you will.
Oh, are we talking Pepsi Phil? You ready to move on to Pepsi Phil?
I could talk a little Pepsi Phil.
So this made me so incredibly happy. Number one, this is probably the best promo that CM Punk has cut since he came back to WWE. And he's cut a lot of good promos, but just the fire, the intensity, the passion. I thought Punk was fantastic. Thought the content was absolute top notch. But the thing that absolutely makes this promo for me is when you look at WWE and we talk about their narrative structure, it's like nobody pays attention to the rest of the show other than their segments. Pepsi Phil coming out on Monday Night Raw and saying, hey, I watched SmackDown. Hey, I heard what Pat McAfee had to say. And hey, I owe you a receipt for it. Because this WrestleMania, this is my WrestleMania. I am finally walking into the main event of WrestleMania as the World Heavyweight Champion against the biggest star currently in the business to defend my championship. And you're going to come out here and you're going to shit all over it? You got a receipt coming, Pat McAfee. I thought that was by far the best part of the promo. And there was a lot of really good stuff in that promo last night. That's before you even get to the Roman Reigns content. But just CM Punk acknowledging the Pat McAfee promo from Friday on Monday is a huge step in the right direction to building one cohesive narrative structure throughout the WWE universe. That might have been my favorite thing on WWE TV this week.
Well, you got correct you there. Sorry, Jargo, but it's Pat McAfee and his buddies at the top of TKO that are calling these shots here. And if they want to help fix professional wrestling, they can lower those prices. So he goes right at the price gouging and taking it to the fan that built professional wrestling, the chop wood, carry water, the blue collar mid-America that loves professional wrestling. They know that's who he's speaking for. But if it's Pat Mac kicking off SmackDown, if it's Cody with the shots fired right back at him, if it's Pepsi Phil taking it into his hands with a pipe bomb this week, let's get this straight, because it is great for conversation. And I'm so excited, and it makes our lives, our job, so much sweeter when you've got a hot fire burning underneath the internet wrestling community that fans are getting fired. I've had people reached out to me that I know are Laps fans, very casual, that have reached out over this weekend, like, wow, what's going on inside WWE? It's like a civil war going on over here. Like, there's all this tension. Heads are going to roll. I mean, that news is getting out there. It's getting people excited again. Well, let's not make a mistake here. These are not shoots. These are marketing strategies. And there's actually even a name for it. It's called brand vulnerability and proactive transparency. And brands will do this when they realize they have alienated and disconnected and disrespected their consumer base almost to the breaking point. So instead of having a revolt or major backlash, no pun intended, as we're going to have next month when those ticket prices are probably going to start dropping, the brand embraces it themselves. And they approach it. They put it out there in front of the public. That's exactly what we're seeing here. So from the three different perspectives, from Pat Mac, from Cody, from Phil, and we're probably going to see it elsewhere, they are addressing the major elephants in the room that fans have been talking about on this road to WrestleMania. There's a couple steps with it here you look at, like the oops email. And this is where they'll come out and openly say, we're sorry about this. So in this case, it's the oops promo. So they're admitting these things here. You got brand humanization. Admitting mistakes shown and there's real people, but it shows that there's real people addressing these things. That's what you're getting here. Witty, self-deprecating. That's what they're doing, and apologizing to you in a sense. And you're having some of your heroes rally behind the people, or you're having Pat blame the creative sect or middle management, if you will. So yeah, it is great for conversation, but they absolutely know what they're doing. Those sharks know what they're doing.
I did find it interesting that they very much seem to frame Roman Reigns as the corporate champion last night. And Punk laid out all the reasons why that he hates Roman Reigns. And I think it resonated with a lot of people. And then you have the outlaw, right? But you have CM Punk, the guy that they can't control, that happens to be the champion right now. I thought it was a really, really interesting framing. And I can't help but think of how much better this road to WrestleMania would have been had this promo taken place 6 weeks ago versus taking place 2 weeks out before WrestleMania.
I'm looking at, when you look at these roads, how they have laid these puzzles out, and it's almost been the opposite strategies that they've done here with this main event with Punk and Roman, where it started out, let's do the verbal, work our way into the physicalities, where we saw the table spot exchanges, where Cody and Randy came out of the gate fire. It was a bloodbath. First, they signed that contract, and it was on. Now they're here to cool down. So it's nice to see the contrast in how they're doing that. I think this was the right time for this, because this is when you need to turn up the heat, turn up the volume and the attention here 2 weeks out. I got to tell you, I'm excited for WrestleMania across the board right now, but after last night with Punk, who had to go out there, I almost feel it actually helped a lot more not having Roman there, because you didn't have to worry about any kind of physicality or a rebuttal from him. This was just one side getting to go out there, someone who knows how to work a live audience, to hammer home a point, to get those through, so it speaks through the screen to the home audience, rally the arena through the screen to the home audience. And again, CM Punk's one of the best that have ever done it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I guess my question now is, what is Roman's response? Because next week will be the go home for WrestleMania when it comes to Raw. What is Roman's response, and what is the interaction between Punk and Roman next week? Because this very much felt like a go home promo. And I mean, we have joked for years that the real go home promo is always 2 weeks out now. The week before is basically just kind of treading water, make sure that everybody stays healthy, nobody gets hurt. Yep. So what is Roman's response next week when he comes back to Monday Night Raw? How is Roman going to handle what Punk had to say? And are we going to see the interaction between Punk and Roman, or I can't believe that this would even be a thought, do you keep Pepsi Phil off of Monday Night Raw going into WrestleMania?
That is a tough call. And I don't know if I would want to be in that creative room, because how it's going to be.
It's tough.
Oh,
it's really tough.
That is carrying crystal, and you've got to handle that thing like a absolute baby. First part of your question is, where do you go with Roman? How does he come back from that? Because in that promo, and now everybody saying about how greedy the top of it is. And when we really look at that, Jargo, is there any current superstar that embodies the modern day business philosophies of PKO and WWE than Roman Reigns? He's been the one that is collecting the biggest pay for the least days, and remained in that main event, and has openly said, this is where I want to be. We've heard rumblings that when they wanted to renegotiate his deal, he just said, I'll leave.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to take that cut.
Go full Hollywood.
He is the acknowledge me, not the acknowledge audience kind of guy. How can you flip on that? So do you just lean into that next week with Roman into WrestleMania and just let him kind of side with this new corporate strategy?
I almost do, I think. I almost think that the best direction to go here would be to lean into it and not necessarily go full heel with Roman, but absolutely make him out to be the heel going into this match.
I mean, do you have him come out and say, that's great, you can cut ticket prices, but I won't be on those shows. I'm a premium dollar superstar.
And it also depends, what's the finish at WrestleMania? Because if you put Roman over, one of the things that we have heard, and Frank's just said it here in the chat, we don't want a part-time champion, period. End of subject. I think that there's a very good case for Roman Reigns to take that championship from CM Punk at WrestleMania. But after that promo last night and the way that Punk framed Roman Reigns, I don't think you can have Roman Reigns take that championship as a babyface. I think the only way that you even could do it would be if you leaned full in on the corporate champion side of things. But when I was listening to that promo last night, and most specifically, when Punk went into the crowd at the end of the promo and left the championship on the desk with Mitchell Cole, when he's standing in the crowd, the first thing that Punk said was, I don't fucking care. You could read it on his lips. I don't fucking care. So it almost felt like Punk knew, I'm losing this championship at WrestleMania. That's very much the impression. And maybe that's what they were going for, was give that impression. That's entirely possible. I'm not saying that that was a shoot. I'm not saying that Roman's winning at WrestleMania. But if they do put Roman over at WrestleMania, I feel like after that promo that Punk gave, it creates a whole different set of issues with Roman Reigns going forward.
Frank say they already did this storyline. He's talking with Roman Reigns and the premium dollar champion. I mean, could it be a reset for the bloodline, with that mindset of, if I'm the champ, the heel takes it home. The babyface, the hero, has to stay with it and defend it, which we're not going to get from Roman Reigns. I would also say, which would be kind of intriguing on the other side of that, what we've known from CM Punk in his history at WWE, things don't necessarily go his way, and he admitted it. He's got FU money. He can go home. So would that be a better move in losing it, say by crook somehow, bloodline restart or something like that? CM Punk shows back up on 420 and says, you know what? I'm not taking my ball and going home. I'm still going to come here and put in the work bell to bell and put on the best damn show for all these people, belt or no belt.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Because I absolutely, before that promo last night, I absolutely felt like CM Punk was winning that match at WrestleMania. I absolutely felt that way. Now I'm not necessarily so sure.
I am with Frank also on that. I hope they just don't go hardcore into just recreating the same, say, corporate and all that. There's ways. There's so many storylines in existence.
Oh yeah, there's a million ways to do it for sure, for sure. And especially if you're going to get the Dwayne involved. And don't. Oh no, I'm with you. I don't want the Dwayne involved. But when Punk brought up the Dwayne intentionally during the promo, red flags kind of started going off there. So that does worry me a little bit.
How is the Dwayne looking? How is the Dwayne looking these days? I haven't seen any photos of him.
No idea. I don't.
Did he go back underground to get on the gas?
Yeah, I assume. I don't follow the Dwayne, honestly. I don't pay any attention to what he's doing because I don't care. I don't think he's that good of an actor. I'm sorry. People rant and rave about how he's this huge Hollywood celebrity. Yeah, he's just the Dwayne to me. I don't know. Maybe we've seen too much. Let's shift gears entirely and talk a little bit about Carmelo Hayes. Friday on SmackDown, we did see the rematch between Carmelo Hayes and Sami Zayn, and what sure felt like the very genesis of the Trick Williams babyface turn, because holy crap was that crowd into Little Yachty and Trick Williams. I mean, white, smoldering hot. And that was a great promo with the two of those guys going off of one another. But Sami Zayn absolutely suffered from that promo. The gingerbread man, I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I popped every time he said it. I thought the back and forth between Trick and Yachty was fantastic. And then Carmelo Hayes coming out, interjecting, saying, hey, this is bullshit. I want my rematch. Okay. And I thought for sure this is how Carmelo Hayes is going to end up being added into this match at WrestleMania. Instead, we get some chicanery. Sami Zayn goes over, quote unquote, clean. And we're still left with Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams. I really hope they're turning Sami Zayn heel, because I cannot wait to hear 50,000 people yelling, whoop that Trick. They've got to turn Trick Williams babyface, and they've got to do it immediately. Make as much money as you can with Trick Williams right now, because that dude is red hot.
Immediately here, there's a few ways to dissect this thing, and I'll start with Carmelo Hayes, because I asked Jimmy today on This Week in WWE, is Carmelo Hayes being hazed? Is this one of those locker room tests? Hey, man, thanks for all the hard work, being the workhorse for the United States Open Championship for the last 6 weeks, 2 months, going out there, busting your ass. Thanks a lot. We're going to put you on the bench. Let's see if he still will play ball. See if he's still going to be that good soldier, even though he's missing out on a big moment. We've seen them do that in the past. It's one of those weird-ass wrestling tropes that they do backstage to see if they can break you. Sami Zayn inserted into us. A lot of people, he's catching a lot of heat here because it seemed unnecessary. The fans want it. We're craving for it. You saw the excitement, the energy in that arena. You saw it on social media, the possibility that Carmelo could have been added to this. But when Carmelo and Trick stood across from each other in that ring, and Carmelo says, we've got this history. People were hungry for that. They wanted to see that. I am now more curious if this isn't so much about snubbing Carmelo Hayes or even finding a spot for Sammy than it is we are 100% focused, locked in on Trick Williams. This is his moment. We don't want anything to take from that. Carmelo Hayes being involved creates some sort of divide. Maybe not a 50-50, but he is taking a portion of that that's rooting for him. As you said, Jargo, we want 50,000+. Whoop that Trick. Whoop that. And no matter what they do for Sammy, if they feel like they've really got to get him or establish him as the heel this week, I don't think they need to do that this weekend or next, because it's going to happen anyway. It is Tricky Williams magic. No matter what they do, they're not going to be able to slow that down. I think it's more of, we need to make sure that there's no debris on the track. So let's remove Carmelo from this. One, so that it doesn't hurt anything we do have for Carmelo, and that he doesn't take away the spotlight from Trick Williams. We got little Yachty in here. I'll admit, I had no idea who he was going into this, but that's okay. I'm not his audience. I'm a middle-aged white guy from the Midwest. You know what?
None of that segment was intended for us. I mean, but I could still sit back and watch it and be like, wow, this is very, very well done. We are not the target audience for Trick Williams.
This is one of those cases that reminds me of with the Professional Wrestling Alliance, and I'm sitting around with, you've met him, Russell Bland, the wingman, and who led the group, My Brother's Keeper. And he came to me early on. He pitched, he said, I want to take Savion. I want to take Jax. I want to take Bo Monty. I want to take Juice. All black guys. And I want to put together a family. And I want a strong representation of our culture. He's laying it out for me. We're sitting there having a drink at the bar. We're sitting at Twin Peaks. And I remember I shoot my whiskey back. And I said, brother, I love everything you said, but I don't understand an ounce of it. I said, I'm going to have to trust you. I believe in you. I'm going to have to trust you to craft this thing, because I'm just some middle-aged white guy here. I don't know your culture. I don't know what it means. So when I took that to the money guys, their first thing, oh, you want to do another nation? No, that's nowhere near. But because they just heard group of black guys. And that's what it is. But I will say this with Trick and Yachty. That's not for me, but I felt it. And especially as a marketing guy, I'm sitting there. I'm on the edge of my seat in anticipation because of what it can mean as a draw for professional wrestling. And it is that spectacle. Hey, man, I think Yachty going out there, I am so looking forward to more than the match, more than Trick going over and having a moment there to create, crown him as the United States champion. I think that entrance is going to be amazing. That's your crossover. That's what people are going to be picking up on. And how about Yachty fired back on social media? The haters, the ultra smarks going at him, saying, "Oh, you're just another celebrity." He fired back. He said, "Hey, I'm there religiously Mondays and Fridays. I've been a fan of this since I can remember." He said, "Who the hell are you to say I can't go chase my dream to have a moment here at WrestleMania?" And I loved his involvement. Nothing overbearing. He didn't try to do too much. He was just there to kind of support Trick, and he's going to give him a great entrance at WrestleMania.
Trick ain't beating Sammy? Really?
If they go that route, that might be one of the biggest fumbles. That might be one of the biggest fumbles.
I mean, I feel
WrestleMania if they don't put Trick Williams over.
For me, now obviously, by all accounts, I am much more into Carmelo Hayes than Huckleberry is. I think that Carmelo Hayes versus Trick Williams would have been a better story. I think it would be a better match, but I'm now starting to feel like Trick Williams gets more out of beating Sami Zayn at WrestleMania because of Sami's cachet with casual audiences than he does beating Carmelo Hayes. And I feel like that's why they made the shift to put Sami Zayn into this spot instead of Carmelo Hayes and running with him as U.S. champ against Trick Williams. I mean, I feel like that's a foregone conclusion. When I look at the WrestleMania card, there's a lot of matches I could go either way, right? Like Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley. I could go either way. I feel like you could make a case for either one of them to go over inside of that match. Trick Williams versus Sami Zayn, I'm 100% on Trick Williams. 100%. Not even a second thought.
I'm almost across the board where I could see an argument on any match except this one. And with the artist saying this, he knows WWE creative. So they're going to think they're smarter than everybody else in that arena, everybody on the internet here. They're going to think they're smarter than a surefire thing and put Sammy over. It will be one of the most asinine, disappointing backfires on this entire show if they do that. This is one that you absolutely they're handing you the goose with the golden egg.
I mean, we're two white dudes from the Midwest, right? So like we're not ones to speak about representation here, but I feel like at WrestleMania they have a huge opportunity to make both Trick Williams and Obafemi into immediate players on the main roster. And if they don't take both of those opportunities, I think they're crazy. Now, I could see
if Trick and Oba lose, the barbecue gonna burn down.
Now I can see Obafemi losing to Brock Lesnar. I can absolutely see that scenario playing out. But Oba can still get over in losing to Brock Lesnar. Trick Williams has to beat Sami Zayn. Has to. Like there's not even a question there for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I'll even take it one step further. I feel like going into WrestleMania next year, Trick Williams either is the WWE champion or challenging for the WWE championship. One of the two.
I think this is more nothing to do really with Sammy. He's just there by circumstance. I think this is internally them saying we have more with Trick than Carmelo, and we don't want to divide the audience right now.
Oba probably gets more over by losing. I don't know about more over, but he can absolutely get over in a loss to Brock Lesnar as long as he gets that win back at SummerSlam. Like, I feel like that's the catch there. That's the catch.
Let me ask you this, since we are talking about them. And I'm sorry to insert this right on. We know what we can move out to make up for time here. But I think it is. I know we've been putting that over. They continue that they heat. I told Jimmy this afternoon, I would give them like a grade of 85%, 85 to 90% of getting it right, success rate here with how they've done Oba and Brock. But Jargo, your thoughts that we get the big announcement that this is going to open night 2 on the flagship, the leaders, the worldwide leaders in sports and entertainment, ESPN. I know a lot of wrestling fans can't get outside the bubble like, oh my God, I can't believe they're giving this away for free. I think this is a major announcement. This is the biggest distribution platform that WrestleMania has ever had to be on free ESPN.
We called that. We called that as soon as this match was made official, and we said that this needs to open night 2 on ESPN, mostly because of Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is the most decorated combat sports athlete of our lifetimes. All the casuals know who Brock Lesnar is because of the UFC tie-over, right? Brock is a genuine combat sports mainstream star. So, of course, you're going to put Brock Lesnar on ESPN. The other thing that does is it introduces Obafemi to that audience. And just the sight of Obafemi face-to-face with Brock Lesnar, even if Brock Lesnar wins that match, even if he just straight up beats Obafemi, which I don't think I would do, but if Brock Lesnar just straight up beats Obafemi, but Oba is competitive, people are going to remember the name Obafemi, and suddenly you have a new mainstream star in the making. I'm very torn on that match. I'm very torn.
The match placement itself, and a lot of people struggling to understand the why here. This is a test from ESPN to see the value in their investment, to see if this could go beyond just something the a la carte on their app. ESPN
that's not a Brockism. That's a Stevie Richardsism. Stevie taught me a long time ago. If you're not closing the show, you want to open the show because then you get to go home.
And that's the other. He wants to get out of here. No, this is a huge opportunity. WWE had to put their best foot forward with these 2 free hours and what they were going to bring. They need to grab an audience. And as we've been saying, it's the world is saying this is the real main event of WrestleMania. ESPN is going to put WrestleMania a possibility of more eyeballs than it's ever been here with this distribution platform. So the bigwigs at ESPN, they're going to be looking at this as, where does this stack up? I'm not expecting it to hit college football, big game numbers, but I would say it's got to fall somewhere in whatever the women's March Madness was averaging. It's got to be around there of the top, maybe WNBA games, maybe without games that don't include a lady named Clark. I
think it's got to be 2 to 3 million people. Like I feel like that's the number that they're looking for.
And how do we do that? We bring the 2 guys that are the blueprint, the creator wrestler prototypes, put them on that big stage, that big fight feel where it feels legit. Outside of it, that thing's going to be followed up by a demolition derby that's going to be so much fun and have people oohing it on with the 6-man ladder match. Rey Mysterio added to that's going to add a lot of name recognition. Night one, who are they relying on to open? The influencers. They've got Speed and Paul, and they better use the Usos' old entrance. Imagine the Yeet for the spectacle to open that thing up and have the 50,000 plus LA Knight, those guys having fun, getting that thing going. And you've got Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu that look like gladiators, look like warriors, dogs that are going to go out there and brutalize each other. I hope, as we've been joking about, it better not be a joke. Make it a reality. Free on ESPN2 Saturday night. Start that fight and say, hey, if you want to follow this all weekend, you got to get the app. These guys are going to be fighting all over Vegas. The only way to follow it's on the app, and let them fight all weekend long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
I'd let them fight for 24 hours.
Were you surprised? Were you surprised especially with ESPN's recent investment in women's sports? We know Sunday nights this summer is going to be dedicated towards the women's block, WNBA, Women's Major League Soccer, and some other things there. You surprised with these 4 spots that they didn't give one to a women's match?
Yes and no. Yes and no. And the reason I say that, I feel like if you had Charlotte, if you had Io, if you had your top end workers, your actual workhorses, if you had them involved inside of any of the main events, then yes, I think you would feature that. The problem is, I don't trust Jade Cargill, even with Rhea Ripley opposite of her, to go out there and have a stellar match.
It would, if they went with that,
don't.
They'd have to do it like 5 to 7 minutes. Just run Jade out there for the spectacle. Look at this.
Yep.
She's got the baddies to help it, but I'm with you. It doesn't really scream.
And the same thing on the other side with Stephanie Vicaire and Liv Morgan. I think those two it could go very, very right, or it could go very, very wrong with both of them. And you don't want the women to go out there and have a match go very, very wrong on ESPN. So, I mean, yes, I'm a little surprised, but given the lineup that they have put together for WrestleMania, not so much.
Did you see, speaking of going wrong, did you see the lovely Lady Lumps there on Liv cracked her head open? She's in concussion protocol now with Roxy.
Oh no.
Love to see
really?
that. I'll show you the photos we got. I mean, brother, it looks like a softball, not on the side of her head.
I saw that, but I didn't realize she was in concussion protocol. That's the worrisome part.
That's what I've been reading this morning. So
a week before WrestleMania.
Hopefully everything's okay with that, because that match, those two have been really impressing me putting this thing together.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, as the artist says in the chat, Steph clocked her. Yeah, and it looked great. It looked great.
Yeah, you saw it looked brutal.
Yeah. Sometimes, a potato is exactly what's needed. Let's talk about Gunther and Rollins. As expected, Adam Pearce has made it official that we will have Gunther versus Seth Rollins. And Huckleberry, if the Brock Lesnar Obafemi thing wasn't enough to tell us that somebody at WWE Creative has been following along with the show, it seems like they basically just took the storyline that we laid out last week on the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling podcast, and we're like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do that. And so now you have Gunther and Heyman seemingly aligned, whether it be out of consequence, convenience, or just straight up bullying. I'm down for it. And even the people that say Gunther doesn't need Paul Heyman. Well, Brock Lesnar didn't need Paul Heyman, and CM Punk didn't need Paul Heyman either. I feel like the Brock Lesnar Paul Heyman pairing is probably the best kind of comparison that you could use for Gunther and Paul Heyman. But I feel like this is the beginning of the Brock Lesnar farewell tour. Gunther aligning himself with Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman now owes Gunther a favor, and we all know how that plays out. This is going to lead to Gunther versus Brock Lesnar. Now, I don't know if that is at WrestleMania next year. I don't know if that's at WrestleMania 2 years from now. But if there's two guys that I trust for long-term storytelling to get to where we need to go, it's Gunther and Paul Heyman. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, to go a little further on that, maybe they're listening to us. We'll pat ourselves on the back on that, but maybe this just isn't as hard as a lot of people make it out to be. If you sit back, everybody was up in arms. How is this coming out of nowhere? Why aren't they doing the Rey Mysterio? Because we saw Rey. I've seen a lot of people. Why wouldn't they just do Rey? Well, maybe Rey doesn't want to retire. Maybe he doesn't want to be a part of that storyline.
Well,
So
I feel like the plan was they were going to do Gunther and Rey Mysterio. That seems pretty well established. That was going to be the match. Now, whether or not that would have been Rey Mysterio's retirement match, I don't know. I do expect it, if Rey is hanging it up at Clash in Italy, that his opponent will be Gunther. Gunther will retire Rey Mysterio. Whether that was supposed to happen at WrestleMania or whether it was supposed to happen in Italy, that just makes logical sense to me.
I get you need feeder for this career killer. I get that. But I'm with Frank over here. To me, in my mind, in my heart, that last match should be against Dom. And I would love to see it more so be at Triple Mania with Rey finally winning a mega championship. When it hit, because of the strict weight classes back then, he wasn't even allowed to compete for. That's a true magical moment, not just a continuation of the Gunther career killer story. That's where I was.
Now, if we're going to start talking about mask versus title, you're going to send me on a 20-year tangent about Rey Mysterio taking his mask off and putting it back on. Let's not go there.
All right, so there we go. But this Gunther thing here, I think we do have the intrigue. Seth is out there. He's pandered. Seth has pandered that audience like only Seth can. He's having them. He's singing it up. But he does fill in the blanks for his side of it. He says he realizes. Because remember, Ivan asked, why isn't Paul relying on the Vision for protection, especially Brock Lesnar? And Seth addresses that. He says, hey, I saw an opportunity. I knew you might go there, so I set up Brock Lesnar on a silver platter and served him to Obafemi. I know the rest of your goons are on the shelf, So it
Yeah, but
makes sense.
that felt so disconnected for me. Like, what did Seth Rollins do to set up Brock Lesnar for Obafemi?
To go out to just put it to, it was a distraction.
By just being there?
Because Heyman used that.
Taking a powder like a little bitch? That's what set up Brock Lesnar for Obafemi? That felt disconnected.
Paul used it in his reply promo the next week. He said Brock gets distracted. Brock just had to beat up 20 members of the Foot Clan, and then he's distracted by Seth Rollins and isn't paying full attention where he should have been to Obafemi. That's the excuse that they gave. You go back and listen to that promo. They did fill in that blank. So now we learned that the architect put that together. Then we have the altercation. Gunther gets him again in the ring. Goes backstage.
Love that, Coop. Love that.
Hits right what you said last week. The look of fear in Heyman's eyes as he addressed Gunther, like, I didn't ask for this. What do you want from me? What's this about? And then Gunther to say, you'll find out in good time. This could be a number of things. You look what Heyman's done for people. If it's Brock Lesnar, if it's CM Punk, if it's Seth Rollins, if it's Roman Reigns, hell, he's under the tutelage of Paul Heyman. Even Austin Theory is a champion inside of WWE. So now,
you know what I thought was, speaking of Austin Theory, because if we move on, I will forget this point. I thought it was hilarious last night that when Austin Theory rolled up whoever it was for the win, was it LA Knight? Is that who he beat last night? I guess yes. I could look at the ticker. Yes. So when he rolled him up, Corey Graves says, and Austin Theory applying the pressure. And I was like, wait, so a schoolboy is going to be Austin Theory's new finish, and it's just called the pressure? Because that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny to me.
I love it. Corey Graves had some good lines. Real quick, he, on EO doing the dive, he said someone call Rosenthal, maybe he can have a talk with her. So that was kind of a good inside shot. But anyway, so that Gunther comes back and says, hey, you just don't owe me a favor. You owe me more than a favor. So now where everybody needs instant gratification, we need to know everything right away. Let's sit here and let this thing play out. Let's enjoy the ride, the intrigue of what this potential alliance could be about. And I know it seems shotgun. I know that they had to pivot because there was all these long-term other plans, but those aren't going to come to fruition because of injury or whatever the case might be. But as you said last week, Jargo, when it comes down to Monday, April 20th, we damn well, very well could be talking about this match. Gunther and Seth Rollins stealing WrestleMania.
Yeah, this could be the markiest match of the weekend. It really could. I mean, and I expect these two guys to go out there and have a fantastic match. I mean, that's it, kind of like Finn and Dom, right? Like, if they go out there and they don't hit at least like 3.5, 4 stars, it's going to be disappointing. You know, I mean, it's just, that's what I expect from them.
Intriguing that I picked up the graphic from WWE socials that they have the demon on the poster.
Oh, they teased it last night. They teased it hard last night.
I mean, I get that, but why would you just come out? I get the tease, but keep me dangling, have me on the edge of the seat for it.
The thing I thought was stupid was Dom and McDonough talking backstage and being like, what do you suppose he's talking about? What the fuck do you think he's talking about? Have you like just never watched anything? Like, yeah.
Well, come on, man. If there's like a pro wrestling Beavis and Butthead, it's those two. So they probably don't know.
That's true. That's true. Let's pivot and let's talk a little bit of NXT, because we haven't gotten to talk much NXT on this show since we've came back. NXT Stand and Deliver this past weekend. This is supposed to be the biggest show of NXT's year. This is their version of WrestleMania. Huckleberry, before we talk about some of the talents, some of the matches themselves, just kind of a big picture, because I know I watch NXT a lot closer than you do. What did you think of NXT Stand and Deliver? Did you think this was a good show? Do you think that the future of WWE is in good hands, given the talents that were featured here and the talents that we can expect on the main roster over the course of the next year to 18 months?
Well, first off here, how about a little plug and a little love for the two guys that know everything about that NXT. They're going to be breaking it down right here on the platform tomorrow morning, each and every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern. It is the Next Level next NXT podcast review with Big Ray and the Vet. They're going to be breaking down in-depth breakdown of all of this here for you. I actually sat down with Jimmy T and Let's Go Brandon here on the platform for the live watch along. Initial reactions to this, overall reactions. I don't know, is this because they moved this away from WrestleMania? No, this really, could it stand on its own? Could it deliver? I mean, this is a time where it really had to live up to its name. And in a grand picture, it didn't do that for me. This didn't feel like your WrestleMania, your biggest event. This felt like a decent regular PLE for me. Same set, same vibe, same energy, nothing really special about it. What, Sexy Red, is that her name?
Yeah.
Big Red chewing gum, whatever the hell the
I think it's
celebrity
hilarious
was.
having Shawn Michaels introduce Sexy Red. Like Shawn Michaels has ever heard of Sexy Red.
Well, Sexy Boy introducing Sexy Red. I guess there is a connection there.
There you go.
The overall didn't really hit for me. And through, the show didn't really hold my attention.
I feel like NXT is in this very strange place right now, right? Because what they have done, typically Stand and Deliver is their WrestleMania show. You have the call-ups featured, on the Raw after WrestleMania. They changed that this year, and they did all of the call-ups with Javon Evans, with Trick Williams. I feel like there was a couple other ones that all came up.
Trick, you had Oba, had Jordan Grace had an exit.
Right.
She's unfortunately there. We had Lash.
Yep.
Julia.
Legend.
I mean, there's quite a few that, and so you know what, really, when you put it in that perspective, if all those names kind of would have been a part of this, and that's their swan song, we're going to do something big together here. We're going to take a couple weeks off. You're going to see a bunch of us coming up on Monday or on Friday phone. That might have been all right.
Yeah, I feel like they're in this weird place because they've introduced all these new characters just over the course of the last 3 to 4 months, and they're still trying to get you to care about them, especially on the men's side of the roster. There is that women's division right now is absurdly deep. And when I say the women's division, I don't just mean in NXT. I mean, when I'm looking at the top of the card for SmackDown and Raw, all the way down through NXT, their women's division right now is absurdly deep. I mean, it's so absurdly deep that at this point, as we record today, Io Sky, Asuka, Kairi Sane do not have matches at WrestleMania. Julia does not have a match at WrestleMania. Tiffany Stratton does not have a match at WrestleMania. Like, you could assemble an entire women's roster that does not have matches at WrestleMania. And then you also have all the NXT women too. So when they did this most recent set of call-ups, they called up a lot more guys than they did girls. So they're trying to rebuild that men's side of the ledger and very much featuring the women, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. The problem is the women that are still there, with the exception of maybe 2, are not ready for that spot at this point. And I mean, when you got guys like Vanity Project, Tony D'Angelo, Miles Bourne, Lola Vice, Kendall Gray, they're just not ready for that spotlight at this point. I think they can get there. I think there's a lot of potential in all of the talents down in NXT. They just have to make you care, because there's no emotional investment in the characters at this point, because all the characters are so new. And I feel like that's kind of the disconnect.
That's a big talking point to the conversation we need to be having. It is about their character work. And I don't know how much focus is going into developing that, because and what has been a lot of the major disconnect for these call-ups is when they get to the red or blue, they don't have character. They don't understand their character. We are a year and a half in to Tiffany Stratton. It is some of the worst character work that we see. She is so misplaced, so miscast.
Yeah,
and
it's not her fault. It's what they're giving her.
Well, I think some of it is her fault that she doesn't understand where she should be at. But a lot of it is how she's being directed. They can't get her. They haven't lost the Valley Girl. It's about me. It's my time. When you're a babyface, that does not work there. There is a huge disconnect. Now, you say talent, And I do think that there is a bit of it in everybody. There's bright spots in everybody, but I don't know if there's so much talent as there is just bodies. There's just a lot of numbers, and they're going to sort through those to see which ones stick. And there's very few, unfortunately for these ladies, they were heavily recruiting the ladies coming in here. And unfortunately, there's only going to be so many spots available.
Yeah, so let's go ahead. We'll kind of run through the card here. We're not going to do a match-by-match breakdown here, but just more so to talk about the talents. Lola Vice claims the NXT Women's Championship over JC Jane and Kendall Gray. Speculation is JC Jane is going to be on her way to the main roster very, very shortly. I assume Fatal Influence is going to turn on her inevitably very, very soon. The big one coming out of this is Lola Vice finally claiming the NXT Women's Championship. I like Lola Vice. I like Lola Vice a lot. The problem is her character is non-existent other than she's Cuban. That's basically the only thing that we know about her character. They keep calling her a crossover star, like she was some big deal in MMA, like she was Ronda Rousey, and she just wasn't. I'm very interested to see what she can do with the championship, because at this point, her character is the only thing that's holding her back. Once the bell rings, she's fine. She reminds me a lot of Natalia in that way. Like, she's really good. She can go out there and have a good match with just about anybody. I just have a really hard time investing in her personality-wise, because I don't know what her personality actually is.
I'm going to go here on the JC Jane. JC Jane main roster equal failure. Couldn't say it better myself there. I think that's what we're going to get. It
depends on what they do with her.
As the vet would say,
I felt that way about Lash Legend. And look at what she's done.
What?
When Lash
in what
NXT,
in what universe are you comparing the potential skills of Lash Legend to JC Jane?
I can give you the comparison right straight up. Inside of NXT, Lash Legend even being called up seemed absurd. She has absolutely been one of those talents that is much better suited for the main roster than she was for NXT. I did not see what we are seeing out of Lash Legend now in NXT. I've been absolutely shocked. I've been very, very wrong about Lash Legend over the course of her NXT career. She's killing it on the main roster. Didn't see it coming. Now, I've also seen talents like Roxanne Perez that I thought, absolutely, you can print money with this woman. And she's gotten up to the main roster and fluttered. Like, they just have not done. I mean, to me, Roxanne Perez should be your lead babyface. And instead, they have her as an undersized heel. Like, it's just the disconnect, right? They have her cast wrong, very much like Tiffany Stratton. Seemed like a can't-miss prospect who's really kind of floundering on the main roster. I'm not saying that JC Jane is going to show up and be the next Charlotte, but I'm not saying that she's going to show up and be released and wish the best in her future endeavors in 6 months either. I mean, she's absolutely stepped up as the NXT Women's Champion. I'm intrigued to see what they do with JC Jane and if she can keep that momentum going when she's a solo act away from Fatal Influence.
Real quick on Roxy. She's in a great spot where she's at. Tremendous screen time. She was a workhorse last year, I believe, number 2 in the company, at least number 1 with the ladies, 4 television matches, right there neck and neck with LA Knight. She is complementing major storylines here. She's putting in that time. She's growing a slow burn endearment with that audience. At some point, yes.
Mandy Rose just entered the chat. There's a great example.
Great example. Here's the difference. You are judging the NXT where there's a much more focus, especially from that fan base, on bell to bell. Now, when we are looking at money makers on the red and blue, we are looking at sports entertainers. Lash Legend screamed sports entertainer that entire time. You did say it there, right, Jargo? She had all the skills for the main roster, not NXT. She is delivering. She looks like $1 million. She is a pro athlete, literally played in the NBA. High-level college basketball. Kudos to ESPN and WWE for giving her some showtime at the Final Four, talking about all those ladies. That was great crossover for them. Should have been a lot more. Lash has got the appeal. She's got the gift of gab. She has charisma. She has that it factor. And also, it doesn't hurt. You got the diversity in there. She's doing great things. Roxy's going to have her opportunity to shine. It's a slow burn. It's a slow connect with that audience. They're going to fall in love with the girl next door that she is. JC Jane, she'll be lucky within 6 months if she's got a job in the secret Hervis.
I mean, I could see, I could see that being a very, very real career path for her. I could also see her becoming Liv Morgan. I mean, like, there's a lot of
Liv
comparisons
Morgan
between
is
JC
sexy.
Jane and Liv Morgan.
JC Jane is not. I think, you know what Vet regularly says, I think you're popping for the push because she's been put in a high profile spot. It's just, I
don't disagree there either.
We'll revisit that maybe in 6 months to a year to see where JC Jane's at. I think she'll be with the company a great hand, good bell to bell. I just don't think there'll be any connect with her. Well, the Vice winning that championship, as she said, she's got great assets. She is good bell to bell. They do use that crossover quite a bit, but we need a little more. Hopefully, as a champion, we'll learn that on her journey.
The one with the most potential is Kendall Gray.
Looks like a high school junior varsity kid.
She basically is. I mean, she's only been in NXT for, what, 2 months maybe? I mean, she just got called up from Evolve.
Well, let's see what she's got. We'll give her time to grow here.
Vanity Project retains the NXT tag titles over Los Americanos, who basically went out there and made Vanity Project look legitimate. The only thing about Vanity Project that I like is the one kid, he just looks like Shane Douglas. Like, he looks like a young Shane Douglas.
Oh, yeah. Thank God. I thought you meant Shane Douglas. Yeah, I love the franchise. He's one of those listens when he speaks. I stopped up doing it and I'll listen to his advice. This match confused the hell out of me. You have the Americanos are over at NXT, over like Rover and AAA, but they still work that heel style. They were working more heel against the team that you're building up your next huge heels that I should be truly hating on. And you got Vanity Project working like a legit, working, but the rules and all that. That confused me with it. I think I know you get the big pop.
Miscast.
There's a big reaction with the Americanos. If you wanted to bring somebody down, you should have tried to find like a true babyface team, bring them down there, and then let Vanity Project just heal it up like no other and steal a win. Maybe like Otis and Tozawa, someone like that come down, put those kids over, let them be the true heels in that spotlight instead of that divide. That was kind of confusing to me how they cast that.
Then we finally get to a talent that I do expect to be on the Raw after Mania. Sol Ruca defeats Zarya in the grudge match of Stand and Deliver. I was really surprised by this because I figured Zarya would go over Sol Ruca giving Zarya the rub on her way out. It appears, though, that rub is going to go to Izzy Dame. I absolutely expect Izzy Dame is going to beat Sol Ruca this Tuesday on NXT, and that will be Sol doing the favors on her way out. I do think Sol is ready for the main roster. I've felt that way for quite a while at this point, and they've had her up. She did this Saturday night's main event. She's done the Royal Rumble. She's made a few appearances. I'm just not sure that her character is going to connect with the mainstream audience. They still haven't necessarily narrowed down who is Sol Ruca outside of the Sol Ruca Zarya partnership.
Well, and the Soul Snatcher, great style, great energy. Soul is somebody when they do call her up, and I do believe she's one of those that there is money on. Yep. Great markability. Great talent like that, but don't just throw her out here. It's her debut match. You should know who she is. It's not she shows up and she's talking to Aldis like they gave to Jordan Grace treatment. How about doing some really nice put together vignettes, showing her out on the beach, where she's paddling out and we're getting the inner monologue, talking about what it means to be there, her upcoming. How she's coming back and getting centered in her roots at her happy place before let's connect with that character. Get to know who she is before she comes up. I'm with you. Finishing this match kind of shocked me. I thought, hey, let's go with Zarya. Let's see what she can do on her own in NXT with that look, that style. Maybe she could, evolve into get her like in a full heel go, big bad meanie chasing a champion like Lola, who's the baby. That could have been something. Maybe they just don't see it in her. Izzy Dane on the other side. I think what she's got going for her is simply that build. Tall, good-looking blonde, volleyball background, legit athlete background. They're looking for that. How many of those can we have on the main roster? That falls into the cookie cutter. We got so many that, that meet, check off these boxes, but only so many spots on the shelf.
Artist says in the chat, Sol Ruka not ready for prime time yet, unless they've got a program versus Julia. I'm not sure Julia is ready for prime time. With the way that she's been going, I think I'd rather watch Sol Ruka than Julia at this point, and that's
I think the biggest thing, is if you had Sol Ruka just come out and win the United States Championship off of Sven Julia, because let's face it, the little belt shimmy with the butt for Sol Ruka got over.
Yeah, agreed. Miles Bourne, Randy Orton defeats Johnny Gargano to retain the North American Championship. Miles Bourne just seems like a carbon copy of Randy Orton to me. And I felt bad for Miles Bourne in this match because you have a babyface who just won the North American Championship. He's defending the North American Championship on the biggest show of the year. So let's put him against a guy who is the most beloved babyface in the history of NXT. I felt like this was a complete disconnect, and they did Miles Bourne absolutely no favors with booking him against Johnny Gargano.
You're absolutely right. Again, the casting, the booking here makes no sense to me. I do want to put over Miles Bourne. This popped me. On social media, someone was making the comparisons to him and Randy Orton, and he replied back in a tweet. He said, the major difference is Randy Orton hears voices. He says, I can't hear anything. That was his reply in the tweets. And I think that he's having fun with it. That actually speaks to his potential, because he'll lean into that, because it is something that makes him stand out. It makes him unique and marketable. And the guy looks like $1 million, can move bell to bell in there. And now we've already got to connect something with the audience, and you talk about partnerships, sponsorships, and all of that. He's the one who's a spokesman. Don't let any kind of disability hold you back. Come on, let's follow that here. I think when we talk about stand and deliver, that next generation that go up, he's got great potential.
I'm very afraid of putting him in front of 20,000 people and asking him to cut a promo, though. That's the only thing with Miles Bourne that I think holds him back.
Okay, well, we got time. Well, we need to be working on that in NXT.
And it's fantastic, says in the chat. And he has a hot girlfriend. Yeah. It's a good thing he's deaf, because, he doesn't have to try to translate. Let's see. Tatum Paxley retains the Women's North American Championship over Blake Monroe. Hopefully this means that Glamour is headed for Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. I mean, Blake Monroe, I don't even know why she went to NXT. I've never understood that one.
I think it's more of where are we going to fit her in at? Where does she fit into this puzzle? I think she's tremendous talent, great look, markability, incredible. I'm with it. The end of this match finish was way off. Tatum Paxley kind of won me over a little bit more in this. I didn't really think so much of the character or her work. I think she looked good in a great match, except for that finish. And they did that weird. I see this scream Shawn Michaels just being a mark for himself, probably trying to pop Michelle McCool's husband in the back when they did the sit up and look at each other after the exchange of kicks.
Tony D'Angelo captures the NXT Championship from Joe Hendry, Ricky Saints, and all ego Ethan Page. Not a big surprise here. There's a lot of people that think Joe Hendry is bound for the main roster. And I think Joe Hendry plays great to a small audience. I'm not sure that he's going to play well to a large audience without becoming the Miz over the course of a couple of years. Ricky Saints, I like Ricky Saints, but I don't see it. I think NXT is kind of his peak. I don't see him as a main roster talent. Tony D'Angelo doing the Sting gimmick is just not working for me whatsoever. But all ego Ethan Page, he's another one. Why he's in NXT, I do not understand. I mean, if you're going to make any money with Ethan Page, you need to do it, and you need to do it now. He's not a spring chicken in any way, shape, or form, and I think he's one of the smartest guys in the wrestling business. Just put him on the main roster. He will find a way to get himself over.
This match inside itself, you mentioned the three of them here, Joe Hendry, Ricky Saints, Ethan Page. I think internally, top to bottom, they know what they have with these three. They know there's something there. They know their limitations. They know the ceiling with them. You see, immediately all three of them bring the main roster. Again, where are they going to fit? Where are spots for them? I think the real conversation here, and it says that they put him over, is Tony D'Angelo. This is almost a, dude, here's the ball. Can you run with it? Because what is your potential? What are you? What is your value? So we're going to put you in the top spot. This is sink or swim for him. Can he carry this brand as it reinvents itself, as it looks for new stars, it looks for a new identity, a new connection with an audience on the CW? Can you do it, or is it time to cut bait?
Yeah, no, I agree. Where are you with Joe Hendry? Does Joe Hendry play to the mainstream WWE audience for you, or is he just an entrance? Because I feel like he's just an entrance. And I like Joe Hendry as a talent. Don't get me wrong.
I hate to say this. I hate to say this. I think he is a C-level player with just very, great shining moments, potential in there. As you said, that big entrance is going to go over here a little bit. He always seems a little off in the ring to me, just like a little slow. His delivery of things, the choke slam's not exactly there. I think he has a long career ahead of him, just not in WWE. I think, he's best off going back to those mids, to TNA, to MLW, maybe short little run in AEW, end up maybe doing a lot with their Ring of Honor, working the conventions, just not inside of WWE. Ricky Saints is another one. I wouldn't be surprised if he found stardom. Wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. Ethan Page, as you said, dude can do anything. You'd mentioned a comparison with Joe Hendry to the Miz. I think Ethan Page is more of that comparison to the Miz. You give him anything, and he's going to make gold out of it.
Personality wise, yeah, absolutely. But Page can go way more than the Miz ever could. I think when you look at Ethan Page's in-ring psychology, I would put it up against anybody on the main roster at this point. I just think the guy, he knows how to lay out matches. He's going to have a very long career as an agent. That's what keeps him with an agent,
keeps him somewhere in that company, a trainer at the PC, an agent, if you will. You could put him on a panel, just as a talking head, and it will work.
Ricky Saints, I absolutely love as a talent. Should have never come to WWE. He should have stayed in AEW. If he wanted to be a top guy.
His size has been exposed.
Yeah, you put him in a ring with Roman Reigns, he's going to be exposed real quick.
Even in this match.
Yeah.
Fit as hell. Great physique.
Yeah.
But just great stature. The stature against these other four was like, ooh,
Ricky Saints is everything that Pat McAfee cut that promo about. I mean, no disrespect, but that's just kind of the reality of the situation. Speaking of AEW, if Ricky Saints was there, maybe he would be a top guy. AEW Dynasty coming up this Sunday, live on pay-per-view. And Huckleberry, I feel like the big story here is nobody's talking about AEW Dynasty, including AEW. I thought this was hilarious when I was going to pull up the matches of what's going to be happening at Dynasty. This is directly from the Wikipedia page as far as the storylines going into AEW Dynasty. Dynasty will feature professional wrestling matches that involve different wrestlers from pre-existing feuds and storylines. Storylines are produced on AEW's weekly television programs, Dynamite and Collision. Even Wikipedia doesn't know what the fuck's going on this show.
It's like Wikipedia with the chat GTP and said, can you write a description for this?
Right. Just absolutely absurd. And I think this is the week that everybody should watch Dynamite, because they have so much to do on Dynamite this week. They only have 5 matches announced for this card. The typical AEW show is like 12 matches. I expect they're going to add like 7 matches to the card tomorrow.
Well, I know this thing is called Dynasty, right? Is it going to be just like redubbed Iron Man? We're just going to have 5 Iron Man matches, so it's can it hit their 5-hour mark? Hey, maybe Tony Khan's doing it. He's going to reinvent the wheel. He's going to blow all of us away by having a 2.5-hour show.
Oh, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. I think the real lesson here for Tony Khan is don't run 2 pay-per-views 3 weeks apart, and don't do it in the middle of WrestleMania season when nobody gives a shit about your product. I mean, because that's really where we're at right now. Because the 5 matches they have announced, they should be good. They should be good. FTR versus Cope and Cage for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. 2 of the, top 10 tag teams of all time. Yeah, that should be good. Jon Moxley versus Will Ospreay for the AEW Continental Championship. Okay, yeah, that should be good. Andrade versus Darby Allin for the de facto #1 contendership. Yeah, I could see it being good. Andrade has been lights out since he went to AEW. That dude's career has been completely reinvigorated. Tekla versus Jamie Hayter for the AEW World Women's Championship. Okay, former champion versus current champion. I can get behind it. And then your main event, Maxwell Jacob Friedman versus Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. Yeah, okay. That's what they've got announced. And they all should be good, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. We want to see Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar.
I feel inside of the AEW, All Elite Wrestling bubble, that MJF versus Kenny Omega should be a much bigger deal. Not 3-week build. I mean, this should be highlighted long term. This is something that the wrestling world should be talking about, not an afterthought. Right, our own platform. I'd mentioned to Jimmy T, hey, what are you doing Sunday for the pay-per-view? He's talking about this weekly, and he's like over his head. He's like, oh, wait a minute, I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah, there's a pay-per-view this week.
And you go to social media, chat. How many times on your social media outlets, no matter which ones they are, on your feeds, are you seeing people talking about All Elite Wrestling Dynasty right now?
Right.
Don't tell me they're in competition, because this is such an afterthought. And again, as you said, Jargo, why the hell are we booking 2 pay-per-views, let alone 3 weeks apart from each other, but 2 of them on the road to WrestleMania?
Yeah.
Within weeks, within a month of WrestleMania.
Yeah, business-wise, it doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense. And like Artis said in the chat, it's a banger card that nobody's going to watch or pay for. You know, like it should be a good show. Like, all those matches sound good to me. All of those matches in a vacuum sound good to me. And there's just no hype at all. But that's what happens when you do a 3-week build.
Absolutely. Hey, speaking of, everybody out there, if you want to, we'll do a little plug, a little love for our friends over at the Brand. Vince Russo's The Brand. Coach and Bro sat down today with Tony Khan. I caught a little bit of it. It seemed like, they weren't peppering him with the puppy dog questions. They were kind of getting on him, asking him. And then when Tony tried to give them the sugar-coated answer, they pried a little bit more. So check that out. I'm sure that's still posted over on their YouTube outlets.
Tony Khan is a great NFL owner. Like, he will answer a question by speaking for 5 minutes and never once say anything that is remotely close to answering the question. I mean, and that's NFL owner 101 right there. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
The other big story from AEW this week that nobody is talking about, Chris Jericho returning to All Elite Wrestling in his hometown of Winnipeg. Did this work? I mean, because when I was watching it live, I was like, oh, that's cool. Jericho's back. And I've seen no hype about it. I've seen no buzz about it whatsoever, other than WWE fans that were pissed off that Jericho re-signed with AEW rather than coming to WWE. Like, he genuinely hurt their feelings.
Oh, I think it's very fitting of the Easter season that we just had this past Sunday. Chris Jericho, CJ, Jesus Christ, JC. And the WWE fans remind me of the Christians that are just realizing that he's not coming back, and they're devastated.
Oh boy. Okay. I wasn't expecting a Jesus Christ reference, but Jericho with the cross pose, the Raven pose. I mean, I guess it fits. So that's going to wrap things up for this week's show. Thanks for watching and or listening. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Then keep up with the show by searching Hitting the Marks on your favorite podcast listening device. You can also now keep up with the show. Official today, I believe. It has officially launched patreon.com/Hitting the Marks. Get in on the gorilla position. $5 a month gets you access to all the end of show mixes. It'll get you access to all the new Reason 317 stuff. There's going to be exclusive content. We've got a Discord server set up. Huckleberry, have you checked your email yet? Did you get set up on the Patreon yet?
I am set up. I am in there. Just going to start exploring my way through there, checking out all of the awesome material that we got going on. Of course, we got the HTM Patreon. You want to jump on that here. We got the HMG Patreon, where all of these shows most of our shows are free, and then you get the best premium pods available as well. And how about a little teaser here? I know we've got to talk about some of the details. I know it's out there, but I think we might have another distribution partner here for the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling podcast with the introduction of the new website, the Side Armor.
Oh, yeah. I did hear about that. Shout out again. The Gorilla Position. For years, we were brought to you by thegorillaposition.com.
Now,
so when I was
long-term storyteller.
When I was setting up the Patreon and they were like, what do you want to call your membership tier? And it was like the gorilla position. That's what we want to call it. Welcome to the gorilla position. It makes total logical sense. Don't keep up with me. Chances are I don't want to talk to you unless you want to check out my new music, which we are launching. That'll all be available on the Patreon. I'm also starting to put some stuff out. Huckleberry, I have written 5 EPs, 5 full-length EPs. I've got like 50 songs just sitting in a can waiting for people to hear. You want to talk about long-term storytelling? I'm building a electro metal opus. It's incredible.
Wait till he drops that RBV diss track, son of a bitch, over there. I got to come up with some contributions to our Patreon. I just might start my own like eating challenges, and you pay $5, and I'll eat whatever massive amounts or whatever the hell you want me to. Maybe that'll be my contribution over there. Before we get out of here, I do want to plug coming up WrestleMania week. A lot of big plans from the Hami Media Group here on the platform. Going to be sponsored by This Week in WWE. We're going to kick things off next week, the 14th, with our regular show, kind of the go home to the WrestleMania weekend. We're going to have a big talking heads roundtable preview for WrestleMania on the 16th, and a lot of special coverage across the board brought to you by This Week in WWE for WrestleMania weekend. Looking forward to it. As I said, it started last Friday. I'm excited. I am in to WrestleMania. I'm about this year. Let's get it going. Let's have a lot of fun.
So let's talk just very briefly here. Reason 317. This is a new musical project that I am kind of heading here. 317, if you did not know, is the area code for Indianapolis, Indiana. That's where that came from. So I've got all of the wrestling themed content that we have put together that is all available on the Patreon. You get all of that when you join the gorilla position. And then I also have basically 5 full-length EPs that are going to be dropping on there as well. If you like electro pop, crunchy, disturbing metal, then this is absolutely for you. And if not, please sign off now. This is my shout out to Timeless Tony Storm. Huckleberry, who do you think killed Timeless Tony Storm? It's the real AEW long-term storytelling angle. That's the only one that we've got going right now. Who killed Timeless Tony Storm? I still think it was Mina Shirakawa. Can't trust her. Can't trust her.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. This is Timeless, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Until then, we're off like a prom dress. See ya.
Chin up. Tits out. And watch for the shoe. Let's make history. Red. Red lip sharp like a silver screen, waist cinched tight like a movie queen. Every step I take is a classic scene, a little bit naughty, a little pristine. Flashballs pop when I turn my head, boys drop dead from the words I said. I walk like trouble in a gown of thread, a timeless beauty with a future ahead. I'm champagne fizz, a dangerous kiss, a little old school glam with a neon twist. You want the show? Then stick around. I'm the queen of every countdown. I'm timeless, bombshell in the spotlight. Timeless, goddess in the strobe light. I'm classic, I'm magic, a little bit tragic. Timeless, baby, I'm your highlight. Timeless, I shine in every frame. Timeless, you'll never say my name the same. I'm glamour, I'm danger, a star and a stranger. Timeless, remember why you came. Remember why you came. Strike a pose, black out, watch your jaw drop out. Turn it up, lights bend, timeless baby, let's begin. Pearl white smile with a wicked bite. I steal the scene like it's opening night. You try to keep up, bless your plight. I'm the femme fatale in the flashing light. I wink once and your world derails. A vintage queen with electric nails. You want my heart, good luck, it fails. I'm the headline in your fairy tale. I'm champagne fizz, a dangerous kiss, a little old school glam with a neon twist. You want the show? And stick around. I'm the queen of every countdown. I'm timeless, a bombshell in the spotlight. Timeless, a goddess in the strobe light. tragic, timeless. Baby, I'm your highlight, timeless. I shine in every frame, timeless. You'll never say my name the same. I'm glamour, I'm danger, a star and a stranger, timeless. Remember why you came, darling. If you're going to stare, at least buy me dinner first. Or don't, I like a little chaos. Jam. It's out. And watch for the shoe. I'm the sparkle in the dark, the kiss that leaves a mark, a legend in the making, the fire you can unspark. I'm timeless, a bombshell in the spotlight, timeless, a goddess in the strobe light. I'm classic, I'm magic, a little bit tragic, timeless. Baby, I'm your highlight, timeless. I shine in every frame, timeless. You'll never say my name the same. I'm glamour, I'm danger, a star and a stranger.